Hey everyone, it's Caleb from Caleb Trains here today, and in today's video we're going to be continuing the HO Scale build series brought to you and sponsored by Berkshire Station. If you haven't checked them out yet, they're a train store located in Iron Station, North Carolina, with a large selection of products, new and used. I use them for purchasing a lot of my locomotives and rolling stock, and also, of course, scenery supplies. They're a fantastic train store. If you haven't checked them out, definitely make sure to. And if you're not in the area, definitely make sure to check out their website today. I'll leave a link for it in the description below. So with this technique, we're actually going to be taking plaster cloth and laying it over what we build the frame out of, which in this case is cardboard and some paper. You don't have to use newspaper. I've actually got a little bit of packaging material here from when I got a package recently, a new decapod in the mail. I just used the packaging material. I've got some cardstock here. And for this one, we're actually gonna keep it cheap, and I found some notebooks at the store for $1 a piece, and we're just gonna rip the paper out of those. It's a little bit cheaper than buying printer paper, so we're gonna use that. But let's go ahead and get into exactly how I built this mountain and show you guys the top part of this mountain getting done on the channel. So as you can see here, I've got the mountain stopped at a place where you can kind of see how the layers come together. And don't worry, on the other side of the layout, there's a second half of the mountain that shows exactly how the framework is done. But on this, you can see that we have the plaster cloth shell, which is currently over pieces of paper. Now, the paper might look similar to this, or it might look similar to just crumpled up normal paper, which is what this part is made out of because it's smaller areas. For larger areas, I just decided to go ahead and use the paper that I had sitting here already because, you know, it works perfectly. For this, we're gonna end up just using paper out of cheap notebooks that I found at Dollar General. They were like $1 a piece. They have 70 pages. That's more than enough if you buy at least 5 or 6 of those to do a couple mountains. So yeah, and then what I've done here is this is actually a 3D printed tunnel portal. I found the file online for free, and I purposely scaled it up a little bit so that it would work on a curve in case I got any big pieces of rolling stock like auto racks and stuff. Or in this case, if I ever get an articulated steam locomotive, I wanted to make sure if it's swinging out on a curve that it's more than big enough. So this is technically a little bit oversized for HO scale, but it works great. And you can see how I've wrapped the plaster cloth around, which again, I'm gonna show you on the other side of the layout how this is done to make sure it fits perfectly. But always test fit your pieces. But yeah, that right there worked perfect. You can just buy tunnel portals. I just chose to save a little bit of money on it and 3D print one for my needs because I needed one a little bit wider, and it's, you know, it's either HO or O scale. Maybe you could find an S scale one, but for my case, I needed this where it's on a 4x8 layout. But yeah, let's go ahead and go over to the other side and I'll show you exactly how the framework of the mountain is done. So it's still a little bit dark on this side of the layout, and I do apologize for that. I'm currently kind of reworking how I have the lamps set up in this room. They work great for the O scale layout, but showing the HO layout's a little bit difficult. But currently this building is not glued down like the other one is. And the reason why is because this is a little bit more complicated of a mountain structure. So you can see this is how I have the tunnel portal set up, where I have it where it fits perfectly right here, so that when I put a flat platform right here, I can wrap the plaster cloth around it and it'll line up perfectly with the edge of this tunnel portal and look super seamless. So you'll notice that we have a gap here. And that is when you take the paper and actually fill in that gap with, which we're gonna do it on the other side of the layout today. This side's not even close to the frame being done, so this is gonna take a while. I gotta do some design work to get it around this mine here so that it fits perfectly and it blends in together, because the mine is supposed to be built into the mountain so that when train cars go into it, it disappears like it does on the other side with the factory. Both of these tracks are connected, so when loaded coal cars go into the factory, the power plant, they look like they come out of the coal mine, and it looks like the coal mine just produced some coal. So it's a perfect way to add some realism to the layout. But the paper will go in here. We'll also build a flat platform starting here and using foam supports as well that stick up and hold just a flat base of cardboard, and you'll put more paper on top of that to line up with the edges here. All that I've done here is taken, you know, cardboard, and I have just drawn the outline of the mountain that I want and just simply cut it out and put it together. And to connect the two, I've just been using these tabs right here that I've been making out of cardboard, simple hot glue. And it's kind of weak at first, but when you start to put the foam supports, just any kind of foam, like hobby store foam, it definitely makes it stronger. And then once you put that plaster cloth shell, it is more than strong. I'm kind of overbuilding mine because I have cats and I'm scared that the cats will get onto the mountain. So you don't have to overbuild it as much as I am, but yeah. So what we're gonna go ahead and do now is we're gonna start crumpling up some paper and actually building the mountain. So let's get into it. Again, there's definitely multiple ways to do this. I'm just gonna take cheap notebook paper. These are like $1 a piece at Dollar General, and they have 70 sheets of paper in it. So what I'm gonna do is just start taking this paper and actually, well, it's a little bit harder than I thought it'd be to rip out of this book. There we go. It doesn't matter if it's pretty. And you just take these pieces of paper and start crumbling it up. Now, obviously it's gonna take a while doing this with normal paper, but this is all part of the process. Is you just crumble it up, start layering it on top. So this is what I was talking about earlier, where I have the flat base, and you can see with that foam support, I'm seriously pushing down on that and it's not going anywhere. So it's more than strong if a cat gets on it. And I'm gonna do multiple layers of plaster cloth just to double check. The plaster cloth that I'm using here is actually the Woodland Scenics plaster cloth, and it's from a layout kit. And the layout kits are a pretty good value if you want it, but I only recommend them if you need grass and stuff with it too. If not, it's honestly better in the long run to just buy the canisters because you go through a lot of materials. So we'll go ahead and rip some more here. It's gonna take a while to do it this way, but this is just part of the process. So you can see I'm layering it. I'm trying to make it look as natural as possible with the edge that we already have here. And don't be afraid if it's, you know, kind of squishy. We're gonna take masking tape just to kind of hold down areas that we don't want moving. But it doesn't really matter if it moves because this plaster cloth, once you put it on, it dries hard as a rock and it's not gonna make it move. There's definitely other techniques to build mountains with too. The technique that I see the most is foam, and I don't mind that, but it's messy, and I don't know if you guys have been to Lowe's Hardware and seen just how expensive those foam boards have gotten. I remember when I built this layout for the foam board, it was almost $50, I think, just for a 1/2-inch sheet of 4x8. And you know, it could have just been my Lowe's was expensive, but I remember it was a lot just for the foam. The whole table was over $100 just because the foam costed so much. You know, it had nothing to do with the actual wood, believe it or not, because it's a very simple build, but it was the foam that cost the most. So as you can see, just simply taking pieces of paper, crumbling them up, plopping them down like that. This is definitely gonna take a while, so I'm gonna actually cut back to when I have it all put down because you get the idea now. It's just a simple matter of taking the paper, crumbling it up, and yeah. And then there's an area over here. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn the camera a little bit so you can see. That area right here is gonna be the hard part because we have to make sure that it rounds off perfectly, especially back here, so that we're not getting plaster cloth on the back of this building as much as possible. It's okay, we can blend it with bushes and stuff, but it's better if you can get a nice clean line to begin with. Now, this isn't for every situation. This is mostly because I have the building built into the mountain, and the reason why is because this one has tracks going through it, so I had to glue this down because the tracks are physically in it, unlike the mine where it sits over the tracks. But you know, it looks really good, and the train cars disappear into the mountain. It's super cool, but you know, you have to be careful. So what I actually did for this part right here, you can see the edge right here, was I took a piece of cardstock and wedged it in between the pieces of paper so that when I put the plaster cloth down, I could just pull that paper back later and it hides everything. So whenever I paint the mountain and put the grass down, I'm gonna do the exact same thing. So yeah, let's go ahead and cut back to when I have all the paper down. One thing I also wanted to talk about real quick before we cut to the paper being completed is the backdrop. Now, the reason I didn't film this is because this was actually the biggest trial and error process I've had on this layout so far. I went through like a bunch of these, but this only costed me, I think, $20 total. The foam board that it's sitting on, this is foam board. As you can see, it's flimsy, it's foam board. And I bought the foam board for about 15 bucks, and the backdrop was only $5 or $6 from Hobby Lobby. It's actually poster board paper. Now, I normally don't recommend doing it this way. The only reason I did is because of, again, my trial and error process with this. It looks good. I'm gonna blend it in with some trees. It doesn't look as good as the O-Scale Layouts backdrop though, which is an actual layout backdrop from Train Junkies on eBay. Again, fantastic backdrop. But for this one, I'd have to buy 2 backdrops because it's a double-sided backdrop. This is in the middle of the layout. So it was just a lot easier overall to just buy some cheap poster board paper. And it looks pretty good. It'll look better when the mountain's done and there's trees down in the layout. But yeah, I just took poster board paper you know, hot glued it down to some foam board and then glued that to the layout just with simple hot glue. And I actually put some nails in some areas just to hold it down. But yeah, figured I'd mention the backdrop. Super simple process, but again, it took me like 2 weeks to finally get this right because the poster board paper kept crumpling up on it. I tried different gluing techniques. I went through a lot of stuff. So really I probably spent like 80 bucks on just backdrops because I had to do it 3 or 4 times to get it right because this just kept wrinkling. It was very, very thin paper, but still cheaper than if I was to buy a big backdrop for this layout. And I wanted the ability to be able to swap it out maybe later down the line with a nice one. So I made it where it's just hot glued, I can easily remove it, and the mountains are built around it to hold it. So it works out pretty perfect. The first and most important step to do is make sure you don't mess up your track. So I'm just simply gonna take some masking tape and start masking off the track. It's just a simple layer to make sure if you get, you know, plaster dripping everywhere that it doesn't ruin your track. I might actually cover the ballast on my layout too, just so that I don't mess it up. And then I have not glued in the tunnel portals yet because I want to do that after I paint it. So I'm gonna weather this and then probably put some black soot from like steam locomotives because I do have a lot of steam equipment too. But yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and mask off, like in the areas closer to the mountain, I'm gonna mask off the ballast work so that I don't have to go back and try to redo that. And then I honestly should have put dirt down before I put the mountain together, but it's okay. I'll be able to use some eyedroppers to get back there. But yeah, we definitely need to mask the track here. So now that that's masked, we can go ahead and get started with the plaster cloth. So what I did is I actually put some protective paper down on top of the roof just to make sure that it doesn't get screwed up. But what you're gonna do is take I just got like a cheap takeout container here. Something that you don't care if you ruin because it's gonna permanently have plaster in it. And fill this up with just about 1 inch of water, probably. And we're gonna use that with the plaster cloth. So essentially what we're gonna do is dip the plaster cloth in this and then lay it out on the layout. Now it's very important you cut the sheets to a manageable length. I normally do about 1 foot long per sheet of plaster cloth because it's a lot more manageable and I can control where it goes easier. And then for more of the detail areas like this area, we're gonna do maybe a 6-inch piece of plaster cloth. So this is definitely not the smartest setup to have this sitting on top of the mountain, but kind of out of room here. I have a box here on the ground with a plaster cloth sheet. I've cut the size. I'm just gonna quickly demonstrate exactly how I do this. So you just take the plaster cloth sheet, you dip it in the water, it's all nice and wet, and then you just simply lay it over the area that you want and then try to smooth out the edges as much as possible. As you can see, I'm gonna have to do some blending right here. Probably put another sheet right there. And then once it starts to harden up just a little bit, I say just a little bit, you gotta watch it. Start rubbing the cloth with your fingers because it's gonna start spreading out the plaster, covering up those holes. Now, I'm probably gonna go back over this with like some sort of filling agent, like Sculptamold or something. Just in the areas where I know grass is gonna be sitting on top of and stuff. But yeah, you just go over it with that. And again, I'm gonna layer multiple layers as well to help with this. But it's as simple as that. We'll go ahead and take another sheet here and show you again. I'm gonna take this right here, dip it all the way in the plaster cloth, or excuse me, in the water, and then just simply lay it over the area that we want it to be in, which in this case is right here. You can see it's a very quick and easy way to make pretty realistic looking mountains, even just in the white form like this. You could leave it like that if you're going for a snow-covered layout. What I normally do after this is I'm gonna make some rock molds using the Woodland Scenics kit, and I will showcase that as well. This is part one, of the mountain. I'm not building the whole thing in one video because it'd be like a 2-hour long video and I don't know who would watch that, but I would watch it, but at the same time, YouTube's algorithm, you know. So what we're gonna do here is just, you know, keep rubbing the cloth here. The part that I'm nervous about is still close to this factory, which we'll move the water tin when we get to that area because it's sitting on top of that area. I'll have to figure out somewhere to put it. But right now I'm just trying to get this area covered here. And yeah, the notebook paper is working pretty well. It's not nearly as strong as the cardstock that I had for the bottom layers, but it doesn't really need to be for this top layer. I hope my cats don't get on top of this, but they might. So we're just gonna keep going here. It's kind of fun. It's definitely messy, and just make sure you're not getting it on the floors as much as possible. I have hardwood in here, so it's a little bit scary, but oh yeah, that's starting to look good. As you can see, it's a pretty quick and effective way to cover large areas. This is just so much easier and quicker than foam carving to me. I've done foam carving before. Again, that's even more messy than this, to be honest, and I've just never really liked how it looked, but at the same time, I could have been doing it wrong. I'm sure there's a better way to do it. So it just happened to me. Sometimes with the plaster cloth, it just kind of goes wild on you. So we're gonna go ahead and lay this sheet. As you can see, it's not gonna be perfect every time. Kind of struggling with this one piece here. It's okay though, because it's gonna get covered a second time. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just trying to get a base layer over the whole thing, because I'm gonna be doing 2 layers of plaster cloth just to make sure that it has no problems at all throughout the future. So when you get to the edges, I like to just barely go over the edges. I'm gonna cover the edges with probably some plastic trim, so it's not too big of a deal. But yeah, I'm definitely going to smooth that out, and then I just kind of lightly wrap it around the edges again of the layout, just enough to where you can put plastic trim in, it won't look too bad, but it doesn't, you don't want to see paper peering through. So we'll go ahead and do one more piece here, just so you guys can see. Again, super easy and effective technique to make mountains with. And Woodland Scenic's plaster cloth is definitely the best out of all the brands that I've tried. I've tried like the Hobby Lobby brand, you know, JTT, whatever it is and stuff. And Woodland Scenic's just comes out the best. It hardens the fastest. It's perfect. And as you can see, like we've already covered a large portion of the mountain here, and it already looks fantastic. You may not even have to add rocks, you know, if you paint it right. And I've done a mountain like that before. I actually used to have one on the O scale layout, but I ended up tearing it down because I didn't quite build the frame of it right, and the cats had started to destroy everything on it, and it was just not ideal to keep it. So this is the area where I'm nervous about, which is near the backdrop, which I might not even have to protect it if I just blend it with some bushes. I just didn't get it exactly right there. And then as you can see, that looks pretty good. Yeah, so I'm just gonna be very careful around the edges here, but we'll go ahead and cut to when I get all of this put together. So as you can see, after laying out all the plaster cloth, this came out fantastic. Now I definitely recommend putting more than just one layer of plaster cloth. And that's mostly to cover up the holes that it has, so I'm probably gonna put a second layer after this layer dries. And then it will go on to the painting and the grass, which I'm gonna cover in a separate video. But for this video, I just wanted to showcase exactly how I get the frame of these mountains done, and also kind of how I've done the tunnel portal hood. Again, this is a 3D printed one. You can buy ones. I just prefer to 3D print it because I have the printer, and you know, I just kind of wanted to see what I could do with it. And I've been 3D printing a couple buildings as well, just to go with the kits and stuff. I do like the kits more, like how they look more than 3D printed ones, but they still look pretty good. And again, this layout's super cool because the tracks go into the mountain and it's hidden. So whenever you put something into the factory, it disappears. It just makes it look like it goes somewhere. Again, it's really cool seeing the train emerge from the tunnel and the backdrop blocking everything. It's definitely something I kind of want to incorporate in my next O-scale layout as well, I think. But yeah, it's a fun project. So without further ado, if you guys enjoyed this video, I appreciate you watching, and you know, try to leave a like, comment, subscribe, And yeah, I will see you guys on the next build series episode where I talk more about this mountain and probably how I'm going to be laying out the buildings and, you know, the main streets and stuff. Oh yeah, and rocks. We cannot forget about rocks. But yeah, thank you everybody for watching. I appreciate it. And this is Caleb from Caleb Easter's Trains.